All right, happy Earth Day, everyone. My name is Ari Eisenstat. I'm an activist, impact investor, and civil society representative to the United Nations, and I'm here with Arnold Strong, and today we're going to be talking about how blockchain technology can help achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Arnold, thank you so much for being with us today. And where are we today?
Yes, so we've had a couple hiccups. If you're hearing this, hopefully you're hearing this live for the first time, if not the third time. But we're actually in the Marines Memorial Club. It was founded for housing for female sailors and Marines in World War II. And then actually now is the Living Marines Memorial Club. It's been a club since 1946. We've been members for the last 5 years. And it's literally one of the coolest libraries. You can only see part of the library. It actually extends by another 60 feet this way. And it's literally one of the most beautiful rooms in downtown San Francisco. Here to my left, your right, we've got the beautiful San Francisco skyline, including the Transamerica building right there. So it's kind of a cool place to be. And like you were talking about earlier, this is ultimately right down the block from where they started what?
United Nations.
Yeah, the United Nations Charter was signed right here in San Francisco. And so it's exciting to see that really in what we're trying to do with Unify Earth Network is live and build a blockchain-enabled tool to accomplish the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, which is the SDGs. We're tackling that challenge really through their first SDG, which is end poverty. And what greater technological tool to do that than the blockchain? Blockchain came into market obviously with Bitcoin in 2008, and really with the promise of becoming a universal payment rail, really a globally adopted currency. The challenge has just been implementation and adoption. And what we hope to do through the Unify Earth Network is enable that adoption at a global scale. We want to be a tool that helps enterprises with their systems integration challenges just as much as we enable the Liberian goat farmer to get 50 shillings for a gallon of milk as opposed to 12 because she doesn't have to pay off all the middlemen. That enables the rest of those SDGs to go into place where she can enable her children to have world-class education, etc. We are literally trying to make the world a better place.
Incredible. And I love that mission of Unify Earth, and I think that the Sustainable Development Goals are so perfect for that because for the first time in human history, all of the governments of the world have agreed to this set of goals. These 17 goals, like you said, ending poverty, healthcare, education, gender equality, climate action, peace. I like to divide them into the 5 Ps, the pillars of people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership.
Yes.
And your experience in the military, I think, is so pivotal to this peace aspect because so much of our conflict comes from our economic issues.
Yes, absolutely.
What are your thoughts on how blockchain can really start to change that and bring the world together in a peaceful way?
Well, you know, what's interesting is, as I mentioned before we had the break, we're sort of infused on a daily basis with the spirit and real Geist and real the Uber Mensch himself. I used to call him the Jedi Kahuna. Lieutenant Colonel retired Jim Channon. He made his ascension this last fall. We went and I ran the memorial service for I ran the color guard for his memorial service. But he passed not without first infusing all of us with this philosophy that truly, like Carl Sagan's book over there talked about, we are this pale blue dot. We are but one planet, as Jim would say, the most beautiful, perfect planet in the known local universe. And we really want to maximize that. And what Jim really knew as a career military officer, a former lecturer at the War College, the guy who started the Army's remote viewing project, really sort of way high-minded capability of realizing that our brains really are, you know, just our path into a much greater tool than just the biological stuff that we use on a daily basis. He talked about how our focus on national security is important and has served us for the time that it has served us, but it's time to really unite the militaries and nations of the world around preservation of natural security, to build what he called the bioasis that is our planet, to sustain and optimize this planet so that it can really benefit every human being, every life form on this planet. We see Unify Earth Network as an extension of what Jim called the New Earth Army, and realizing that we truly are here to share the prosperity, to share the good, to share the wealth, to share the natural resources, to share the human interactions we can all have across this beautiful planet. We think the Unify Earth network is really sort of an enabling technology to sort of access that.
Incredible. And we know there are new studies, and it's kind of common sense that without our environment, those assets, none of our companies would be profitable. So, so our environmental issues tie in with the economic issues, which tie into peace. It's all integrated with that, and I think this blockchain technology is so perfect for that. So it's amazing to speak with you and to hear about these inspirations. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the other founders of this project? It's a really great, expansive team.
Yes, so I wouldn't, none of us would be here if it wasn't for our sort of modeling the way executive, which is Bo Rinaldi. Bo, he's really renowned as sort of the Jerry Maguire of Silicon Valley. He was a critical part of the emerging technology, 70s, 80s, 90s, into the early aughts. Sort of a man behind the veil of an awful lot of the greatest technological launches in our lifetime. Bo started to explore blockchain at the end of last year and realized that it really was an enabling technology to tap into what the values that he's lived his entire life. Bo's greatest wealth is probably in his network, his human capital. He knows how to bring the right people to the right place with the right tools. And as he says, truly if you want to succeed, you have to have three critical components. You got to have a world-class technology, you got to have a world-class team. We're still live? Yeah, good. We just had a call come in, sorry. So what we have is, you mentioned the UN SDGs. We've partnered in our first client partnership with the World Sport Alliance, IGO, intergovernmental organization. They're a UN body, they're affiliated with the United Nations. 40 of the United Nations members were the initial signatories to the World Sport Alliance. Their general philosophy is children plus athletics equals peace. You give a cricket bat, he's more likely to get along with his neighbor than pick up an AK and fight his neighbor. And they've seen, a global deployment of that evolution of how it really benefits society, how it benefits economies, how it benefits nations, how it benefits people. And so that's our first partnership. And of course, what are they doing but trying to align themselves and are aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or the 17 SDGs. Our goal is to tackle number one, which is end poverty. And what greater tool than what has been shown to us over the last decade, and that is blockchain. And so that's how we're tapping in from there. I'm just looking at a couple questions coming in. The camera's just a couple feet away from us.
And so when you talk about blockchain technology, taking a step back for people that are new to this, I like to explain it as just the future of software. You create these distributed public ledgers that allow for transparent, accountable, sovereign data that has gone from everything from pioneering with Bitcoin to just be an exchange of value. They call it the Internet of Value.
Yes.
But then blockchain 2.0 has become even smarter, and they've created these smart contracts, so you can have self-executing systems that in the venture capital world has really changed the way in which we fundraise and are starting to relate to everything from the Internet of Things to how our governments work. And now Unify Earth, it aims to be this blockchain 3.0. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so really, if you realize that Bitcoin Cash was ultimately sort of blockchain 2.0, and recognizing that continual growth of this evolution of blockchain is to recognize that initially it was founded as an alternative digital currency. We enabled that going into Bitcoin or blockchain 2.0. Blockchain 3.0 really enables us, as you talked about with smart contracts, it enables us to actually have access to our platform, which we're tackling it through our wallet. Our wallet is a wallet, certainly, for a digital currency exchange. We're going to be launching our first exchange in the Bahamas here in a couple months. We're tackling that through a deployment of exchanges across the world. But more than that, our wallet is also going to be a tier 1 streaming platform, a tier 1 e-commerce platform to enable us to really have a digital tool that enables us to get into a much broader market.
Incredible. So we've seen the ICO market now overtake venture capital in terms of startup funding. With Unify Earth, there's a different model to the rollout. Can you talk a little bit about what the launch for this project looks like and how you envision it getting to the goat farmers around the world?
Yes, so I think that the key is when we talk about that is to talk about exchange. There is a real limitation. While there's tons of natural resources out there, there have not been viable exchanges to enable people to actually trade their resources on a global scale. We use the example of Ghana often. Ghana, it's almost raining gold inside that country, but there's not been a viable way to get that natural resource out into the world so that that actually improves the local economy rather than just have the hands of few holding access to all the capital, all the access to the global resources. But most importantly, using the blockchain is really, as you mentioned, it's a shared ledger. It's an immutable ledger. Once something touches the blockchain, everything touches the blockchain. So once you have a record of a transaction, everyone has a record of a transaction. And so what that enables is, it enables really the death of counterfeit and the death of artificiality in that trying to feign access to what you really have. What that also means is that it means that we can show that natural resources, as an example, precious stones, that your diamonds, your African diamonds, are not blood diamonds, that they actually have been sustainably taken from the earth, that they have not involved slavery in the process, that they have not involved child labor, that they have not, we can prove that incontrovertibly on the blockchain to enable a much cleaner transaction without an awful lot of the middlemen inside.
And you also have the blockchain revolution over here, which I think is a great example of that.
Yeah.
This book, I was at the launch in Davos 2 years ago, and the book in itself is put on the blockchain. So
yeah.
Not only precious resources, but also
yes.
intellectual property
yes.
can be stored there and can be verified and
yeah.
in a secure way. In talking about intellectual property, I know that Unify Earth came from the original code of Bitcoin, but it's been improved and evolved upon there, and there's been intellectual property that's been added to it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we can and we can't. We've got some aspects that we're trying to be good stewards of open source. We're trying to make sure that we post inside the GitHub and share our code and share sort of what we're working on in a very open and transparent way. And in doing so, we have drawn the attention and interest of, I'll say, some of the more influential people in blockchain and some of the most influential programmers that really have been around from the start of this technology and are got to be careful with how I address this, but they're basically seeing how we are doing things and like the philosophical alignment with which we're actually going out. We like to consider ourselves a values-forward organization. We're really not interested in being that backbone tech for any and all ICOs. We are providing that tool, but we really want to ensure that people are values aligned, that organizations, that enterprises that come to us are values aligned, that they go to those P's that you were talking about, that they really look at making sure that there is, like, beyond even a triple bottom line, that they're really looking for that prosperity, certainly, but looking for people, planet, et cetera, as we migrate out. So we're not interested in sort of a minor ICO. The challenge is that right now there's an awful lot of, use whatever pejorative you want to, but crap coins, is another word for it, where people are just using junk code, wrapping it up with duct tape and chewing gum and trying to throw it out there like it's a new ICO. And when you do the deep dive, as our Chief Technology Officer and his team, Scott Searle, have done, you realize that there's an awful lot of problem with the way that a lot of ICOs are brought to market. And you see that inside some of the securities investigations that have happened as a consequence. People are actually paying more attention now and realizing that even in the initial launch in Bitcoin, it's not been used as that universal payment rail so much as it's been used to just hoard value, and thus we see the huge fluctuation in the value of Bitcoin, where it suddenly goes up to 18 grand and dumps back down. You get JP Morgan Chase saying, no one can be involved in this in my organization, and then the next day they buy up all the delta. And so people realize it is a tool, but I think that right now we're still sort of moving beyond the hoarder mentality, looking at just trying to maximize personal wealth out of a transaction, and really looking at sort of democratizing access to that capital around the globe.
Incredible. So when you think about the process, there are different types of...
I think I'm seeing a couple questions. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, good. Hello from Austin. Hello back, Joel.
So when you're talking about the way of verifying these transactions, this uses a proof of work system. So similar to the Bitcoin blockchain, we have computers solving very hard math problems to verify that there's no fraud involved. And one criticism, I was at the UN Climate Summit in Bonn this past year, where we created the Blockchain for Climate Network. And one of the big critiques of Bitcoin is that it uses up a tremendous amount of energy, that it takes so much computing power to solve these problems, to mine for the coins. And that's been a big issue, and something that Unify Earth has been looking to address. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so what I can tell you is that what our target is and what we're seeing to date, due again to the technological prowess of our team. Again, that core team is key. The technology and the team are really critical, and obviously the global network is to use about 50% of the energy required in mining coin in the traditional manner. And so we have some algorithmic improvements. You'll see reference inside our white paper. If you haven't seen the Unify.Earth website, please go take a look at that. On Unify.Earth, about 2/3 of the way down, after you get through executive bios, you'll see a link to our white paper. We strongly encourage you to actually download and read the white paper, where we address a lot of the technological piece, which defines it. Midas 2 is one of our key rhythms key programs that we actually use in deploying that out, and you'll see an awful lot of that referenced inside the white paper. But our goal is to use 50% of the energy usage of traditional cryptos. We're looking at a couple different technologies to offset some of that as well, in partnering with a couple energy companies. You'll see that as we come out here in the next couple months with announcements therein. I hope that answers the question. Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Really exciting. So improving that code to make it more energy efficient, to make it more secure. We're also getting questions in, and after this video, please feel free to comment and continue this conversation. We're on Facebook,
Shane,
but this is all over our social media channels, and bringing in that global community like you talked about.
Yeah, so Shane, I see that question. I'm sorry, we're doing it off of an iPhone, and so I had to go up and take a look at it. But Shane, to answer that question, and I'll get back to you on a written communication as well on this once we took a look at the historic archive once we post it. But you will be able to access that exchange. Our schedule and our program is such that, and you'll see this inside the website, we're starting in an exchange in the Bahamas. We're looking at opening an exchange in Panama, an exchange in Tokyo, an exchange in West Africa, an exchange in Southeast Asia, most likely Vietnam, and then an exchange in the Middle East, and that's to be determined where that actually will go. Our goal and our plan and our strategy is such that we will have, we intend to have thousands of exchanges that we hope to open over the next couple of years. And so it's definitely, the entire point to your question, Shane, is to enable everyone to have access to these exchanges. And it's beyond just an exchange for precious metals and fiat currencies, as they've traditionally been, but to access exchange for any cryptocurrency that's out there, natural resources, sustainably harvested woods, stones, iridium, etc. It depends really on what really the interest is inside the market and where, but it's truly our plan is to be a global exchange. So I hope that actually answers your question.
And that's a great question. Why don't we break that down a little bit, all the different aspects of Unify Earth? So first, and with this Earth Day launch, is the creation of the coin and the wallet system. And then the next step then becomes this exchange where not only can you exchange the Unify Earth tokens, but then any other cryptocurrency or tokenized asset, like you mentioned. And then going beyond that then is a software as a service system that allows for anyone to create their own coin and launch these tokenized assets in the form of an ICO, is that correct?
Yes, so we'll be able to host ICOs inside the Unify Earth network blockchain. But really, you mentioned something that I think is worth addressing. So we see 5 core areas where we can actually influence the market and ultimately the planet. And you know, as we say, we're humanizing the blockchain. We really want to be good for the good of humankind. Transaction is really how we're going into market, but it's really only one of 5 core areas we're focused on: computation, information, identification, administration, and transaction. We're tackling that through transaction because that's where everyone seems to be stumped upon and where everyone's focused on. They see it as an economic tool. We see it as just MVP, if you will, by bringing in our wallet. Right now, you'll see the reference on our website as we go into it. Our 5.0 wallets are ready to deploy. Our faucets are online. We encourage you to actually go to unify.earth. You'll see a promotion there for today. Today is Earth Day. We've got our ebook. I think you're actually writing a piece for us, and our second ebook is coming out, which is good. There's some awesome information there inside our ebook. But inside that, you can actually be incentivized once you download the wallet. We encourage you. We've gamified it. The opening page, you try to capture the butterfly. That'll award you with a coin, with a UAX coin. And there's several coins available, and you have to find them. There's sort of Easter eggs buried inside that. There's also a questionnaire, a quiz, if you will, on Earth and Earth Day, and that's just a way to download coins into your wallet. The faucet's on now. We encourage people to do that. But literally, those 5 markets are transaction, but again, computation, information, identification, and administration. So what does that mean? It means that we've got 5 dominant verticals that we really see being able to influence how people use this software as a service, how people use this tool. In identification, you know, I'm a military veteran. We've got so many challenges just in military retirement versus VA versus veteran-focused nonprofits versus approved veteran service organizations or VSOs. The challenge resolution is on the blockchain, where you enable this immutable ledger to have access to data without compromising identity, without having to actually have your identity compromised. You can prove incontrovertibly that you are the person, you are deserving of the benefits, you are the legacy or son or daughter of that veteran, etc. You can prove all that without having to compromise personal information. That is resolved inside the blockchain. That's one of the tools, that's one of the challenges that we see us as being able to address. So again, computation, information, identification, administration, and transaction. We're really going in with our MVP, which is through the wallet, our 5.0 wallet, which is downloadable here on inside unify.earth.
Incredible. So you talked about how governments can use this technology, touched on how other social enterprises can use it. What is the vision for the philanthropic sector? How can nonprofits really use this new technology to incentivize this humanitarian action?
Well, I think that literally, Bo has got a great philosophy that he uses on a daily basis, and that is, if you can dream it, we can build it. And so I guess the easiest way to answer your question is just to recognize that however people want to use this tool, so long as it is for the good, so long as it benefits those 5 Ps that we're talking about, really that's what we want to do. We want to partner with people that want to make as philanthropic, as idealistic, as ethereal as this may sound. We really want to make the world a better place, a more sustainable future for all of us, and we really want to build this by Oasis that, again, our legacy inspiration, Jim Channon really envisioned. Okay, we got a couple of this. Can I see that real quick? Let's see. We've got, all right, Star has got the link inside there. Thank you so much. And Tracy Chapman, thanks so much for chiming in. Tracy, who's our social media director, I think she's coming in from Lake Oswego, Oregon. But do we have any questions that are out there? I see a couple likes coming in. Is there, if there's not questions, I want to, let's move to a wrap pretty soon. What do you think?
Sounds good. Yes, I think, again, this really seems, in researching the blockchain space for so long, this really seems like the project, the technology that can really bring those hopes and that vision of a distributed, decentralized, equitable technology and internet to everyone. So from everything from financial services to digital identity, it really is inspiring to hear. It's been so great getting to meet you and the rest of the team, and I hope that we can continue this conversation on and through social media and to have more of these sessions. So if you guys have additional questions, please use this Facebook page as that place. Arnold, do you have any closing thoughts here on Earth Day that you'd like to share before we sign off?
Yeah, I've got a great piece I'll close out with very last. But first, as Ari was referring to, it's nice to have you all here. You can follow us on social media, whatever your channel. We've got a channel for Medium, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. We're the Unify Earth Network. We're unified.earth is our website. I'd encourage everybody to download your wallet if you haven't already. Get access to the free coins that are on there, and then be prepared as we continue to make announcements coming here in the very near future of the opening of our exchange in the Bahamas, our opening up our future exchanges. We've got a couple strategic partnerships that we're getting ready to announce the next week. We've got a yellow paper, if you will, more of a technology piece that'll be coming out here within the next month. I encourage you all, especially technologists that are out there, to actually download the white paper and give it a real scrutiny. Give us your observations. But if there's anything that I would like to close out on, it's once again the legacy of Lieutenant Colonel Jim Channon. One of the things that Jim did that he's most famous for is he created one of the broadest reaching environmental cartoons out there. He's the guy that created Captain Planet. And so what I tell everybody is, in the words of Jim Channon, go planet.
Go planet.
So good to talk to you. Unified.earth. Join us online. Thanks so much.
Thank you.